Hello, thank you for attending this webinar entitled Nutrition Label 101. Today we're going to talk about ways to navigate and read nutrition labels so that you can make healthy choices when it seems difficult to decide whether a food is considered healthy or not. We will go through each part of a nutrition label, explain its significance, and help you figure out how that knowledge can apply to you in your daily diet. First, we have a question. Do you know who regulates and sets guidelines for these nutrition labels? Well, the answer is the FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration. They're responsible for assuring that foods sold in the United States are safe, wholesome, and properly labeled. So this applies to foods produced in the United States as well as foods from foreign countries. And there are several other laws under the FDA that governs food products. The FDA requires most foods to bear nutrition labeling and require that these labels have nutrient content claims and certain health messages to comply with specific requirements. It's their responsibility to remain current with legal requirements and all new regulations. You may have heard in the news recently that the FDA wants to revamp the nutrition labels, like making more realistic serving sizes and the most common information bold or larger on the label. These are all stories that have to do with how the FDA regulates our nutrition labels. So right in front of you, you see a nutrition label. When you go grocery shopping, take the time to read this nutrition label for the food of your purchase. You can compare nutrients with different products and see if the information surprises you. Make sure that you aren't buying foods that are high in saturated fat, trans fat, cholesterol, sodium, or added sugars. So let's take a look at the top part of the label. First, you're going to see serving size information. Next, you want to check the total calories per serving. In the light purple, you'll see the nutrients that you want to limit. Next, you'll see some vitamins. You want to make sure you have enough of these in the product that you're purchasing. Lastly, check the % daily values for the nutrients contained in that food. We will go over all of these things in detail. So the first part, or the top of the label, dealt with servings. First, you want to look for the serving size. The serving size is how big the serving is. Serving sizes are given in familiar measurements, such as cups or pieces or ounces. Next, take a look at the servings per container. So one container does not mean one serving. Servings per container will tell you how many servings there are in that package. Remember, all the nutritional information on that label is based on one serving of food. So watch out. A package of food often contains more than one serving. For example, if there are 2 serving sizes on your packaged food, you may eat double the serving size listed, therefore eating double the calories, fat, and nutrients. If you eat half of the size shown, you need to cut the calories in half. This is really helpful if you're trying to cut calories or lose weight. All nutrition facts are based on one serving, but many packages contain more than one serving. So look at the serving size and how many servings you're actually consuming. When you compare calories and nutrients between brands of food, check to see if the serving sizes are the same. Next on the food label, we saw calories. We talked about serving sizes, so you want to look for the number of calories per serving. Also look at the number of calories from fat in each serving. And just because something has 0 fat or is fat-free doesn't mean it's calorie-free. If a product usually has fat in it, but you see a fat-free version, oftentimes to add flavor or texture, sugar is added instead, so be careful of fat-free items. In the middle of the nutrition label, you will see nutrients that you want to limit, like total fat, trans fat, saturated fat, and sodium. Did you know that fat has more than double the calories per gram than carbs or protein? Carbs and protein have 4 calories per gram when fat actually has 9. A lot of times we say everything in moderation, but trans fat is actually a fat that you do not want to consume any of. Choose foods that have 0 grams of trans fat. Saturated fat is a fat that should be limited. Remember, this comes from animal products. And the fourth item, sodium, is another word for salt. You want to limit your sodium intake to about 1,500 milligrams a day. This is equal to about half a teaspoon. Eating too much of these things can increase your risk of certain chronic diseases such as heart disease, some cancers, and high blood pressure. To help reduce your risk of heart disease, use the nutrition label to select foods that are lowest in saturated fat, have no trans fat, and low in cholesterol. To help lower blood cholesterol, replace saturated fat and trans fat with monounsaturated and polyunsaturated fats. These are found in fish, nuts, and liquid vegetable oils. Part of the upcoming change in nutrition labels is that they will list some of these mono and polyunsaturated fats for you. Limiting sodium can also help reduce your risk of high blood pressure. Other parts of the food label to watch for are total carbohydrates and sugars. You'll see that a total carbohydrate is made up of dietary fiber and sugars. Dietary fiber is the part of food that can't be broken down during digestion. It plays an important role in keeping your system moving and in working order. Sugars, on the other hand, include both natural and added sugars. Look at the ingredient list and make sure that added sugars such as sucrose, fructose, glucose, maltose, dextrose, high fructose corn syrup, evaporated or dried cane juice, concentrated fruit juice, and honey are either limited or not on the label. Also, if they are one of the first items on the ingredients list, you know it has high amounts. So fiber and sugar are types of carbohydrates. Healthy sources like fruits, vegetables, beans, and whole grains can reduce the risk of heart disease and improve digestive functioning. You always want to look for whole grain listed in the first of the ingredient list, such as whole wheat, brown rice, or whole oats. You'll see on the right there's percentage of daily values. There isn't one for sugar, but you can compare the sugar content in grams among the products. So limit the food with these added sugars that we talked about, which add calories but not other nutrients. If you are pre-diabetic or diabetic, it's important to look at the total carbohydrate, not just the sugars. Under carbohydrates, you will see the amount of protein in your food. You want to choose proteins that are low in saturated fat, which you found above, and choose proteins that are lean. Most Americans get plenty of protein, but it's not always from the healthiest source. So when you choose a food for its protein content, you want to choose things like meat, beans, milk that are lean, low fat, or fat-free. Where there's animal protein, there will also be fat and cholesterol, so watch out for those numbers and portion sizes. The protein needs for each person are different based on your gender, your physical activity level, and your weight. Next on the nutrition label, you will see some healthy nutrients that you will want to consume. So not only is the nutrition label there to help you limit fat and sodium, but also to help you increase nutrients that promote good health and may protect you from disease. So we talked about dietary fiber, which help your digestive system, so look for foods that are rich in dietary fiber. Also look for foods that are rich in vitamin A, C, B, calcium, and iron. Eating a variety of these foods will help you reach your goal of 100% vitamin A, C, calcium, and iron. Increasing the amount of these nutrients that you consume can promote good health and may protect you from chronic diseases. Some Americans don't get enough of these vitamins and minerals, so the brand with the higher percentage of daily value is usually the best option. So try to get the most bang for your buck. Compare the calories to the nutrients you would be getting to make the healthier food choice. I've mentioned percent daily values a few times. You'll see on the right side that there's a percentage of daily value for most nutrients. The very bottom will tell you the nutrients in one serving of the food and how it contributes to your total daily diet. Choose foods that are high in the nutrients you should get more of and low in the nutrients you should get less of. So daily values are based on a 2,000 calorie diet, but your nutritional needs may be different than that. So it depends how physically active you are, your age, or other contributing factors. Talk to your healthcare provider to see what calorie level is right for you. Basically, the daily value percentage is a general guide to help you link nutrients in a serving of food to their contribution of your total daily diet. It can help you determine if a food is high or low in a nutrient. So if you see 5% versus 20%, you know that the 5% is low in that nutrient and the 20% is high in that nutrient. You can use that percent of daily value to make dietary trade-offs with other foods throughout the day. That little star that you see is a reminder that the percentage of daily value is based on that 2,000 calorie diet. Once you're familiar with using these percentages, you can use it to compare foods and decide which is a better choice for you. And you can always check those specific nutrients that you may need more or less of. So try to consume foods high in good nutrients and eat fewer foods low in bad nutrients. At the very bottom of a food label, you will see the ingredients. Don't overlook this part. It's almost as important as the numbers that we've already talked about. The way the ingredients list works is that the biggest ingredients must be labeled at the top or the beginning of the list. So beware of foods that start out with sugars like corn syrup or sucrose, fats or oils like vegetable oil or soybean oil. If these ingredients appear early in the ingredient list, the food is probably not a good choice and really high in bad nutrients. The shorter the list, the better. In many cases, the longer an ingredient list, the less natural the food is for you because it has a lot of additives. Also, see if the things on that short ingredient list sound familiar to you, have natural sounding ingredients. If the ingredients are things you can't pronounce or all chemicals, that food might be one you want to skip. This is also a good way to watch out for allergies that you may have that don't show themselves in sodium, carbohydrates, or fat values. So when you're grocery shopping, you might see a product and on the front it says fat-free. And you might think it's a great product to buy. But ask yourself, what does that really mean? Let's go over the truth about the advertising on the front of food products. For example, if your food claims to be calorie-free, it doesn't mean it has 0 calories. It actually means it has fewer than 5 calories. And remember, that's per serving. So if that product has 3 servings, it can have actually up to 15 calories, but say calorie-free. Sugar-free and fat-free means it has fewer than a half a gram. Low fat has 3 grams of fat or less, while reduced fat has at least 25% less fat than the regular product. Take a look at this. Lean and extra lean, they both mean the same thing, having fewer than 10 grams of fat. If you saw a cut of meat that said lean, and right next to it another cut of meat that said extra lean, which would you think is healthier? Probably the extra lean. But in reality, they mean the same thing. If you choose a light version, like light salad dressing, it has to have at least 1/3 fewer calories from fat than the original. Low sodium has 140 milligrams of sodium or less, and high in fiber has to have at least 5 grams or more of fiber per serving. Now that you know a little bit about nutrition labels, let's do an exercise. So going down each section, try to find the serving size, the servings per container, calories, and calories from fat. What's the serving size of this food? The serving size is 2/3 of a cup. How many servings are there in this container? There are 8. The amount of calories per serving is 230, and the amount of calories from fat is 72. If you're still wondering what the percent daily values mean to you, think of it in this way. 5% or less of a nutrient is considered a poor source of that nutrient. If there's 10 to 20% of your daily recommended amount in a nutrient, then it's a good source of that nutrient. More than 20, it's very high in that nutrient. Remember, in general, when you're reading a nutrition facts label, you should be looking for foods that are high in fiber, vitamins and minerals, and low in sugar, sodium, cholesterol, and fats, especially saturated fat and trans fat. You are now ready to take on the challenge. All packaged foods are required to display a standardized nutrition label. So pick a food item from your kitchen to complete this activity. Fill in the nutrition label on the worksheet provided on the link below and answer these questions. If you have any questions regarding this webinar or the challenge, please contact us at healthydirections@hne.com. We hope you are able to take this knowledge out into the world in the grocery store and anywhere you go food shopping to make healthier choices for you and your family. Thank you for taking part in this webinar and have a great day.